Coach Michael Chandler. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Hopefully you'll find some good information. Make this your home. I cover a lot of things, but when I do cover current events, I cover current events with the understanding of being able to coach someone and give them some information and be able to change their perception, help them develop a keen eye and a healthy way of sizing situations up, and be able to be a better person, right? I don't cover things just because it's popular and just because it's the new hot thing to talk about. The only reason I talk about it being the new hot thing to talk about it is that there are people that need my information, need the way I deliver the information that I deliver. And this is what I got to do to catch it. You know, kind of like casting out the net, so to speak, right? So we have these fires in LA. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I can remember the fires, I want to say in 2011, maybe 2000, I want to say 2011. So this was 12, 13 years ago, man. But I remember being in my apartment. I remember the smoke coming in. I remember putting towels below the cracks of the door. And then I remember sitting thinking like, hey, man, if this thing catches fire, you know, one, how am I going to know? Will it be too late? What am I going to do? Should I, thug it out off in here, or should I just go out on the balcony and see what I can see? You know, we weren't directly in the fire. I was just in the valley, but it was close enough to where the cars were covered with ash and the smoke was, coming in through the apartment that I lived in, right? So I just remember sitting in there and not knowing what to do. And I remember having a small, case of anxiety, right? And so all that comes up again when looking at this situation with these fires now and seeing what the people are going through, et cetera. Now, I wasn't smack dead in the middle of the fire, but I understood the residual effects and understood the anxieties and then some of the fears behind it, behind being trapped like that, not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go, not knowing if it's safe to stay here or should I go outside. A lot goes on in the decision making when you're in an area that's, burning, right? So I was pretty much led to, say something, give my thoughts about it. Certainly, send my love and all the positivity that I can to those that are either in the area or those that have loved ones in the area. My heart goes out to you, and I send nothing but love and positivity, and wish nothing for the best, and that you do make it out of this situation. Okay. Last I hear, it's only one of the fires contained, and that there's been new evacuations as of yesterday. So what we'll do is we'll keep, our prayers up, and we'll keep watching it and looking out for it. Okay. But let's get into, some of the stats, some of the statistics to basically go over some of the actual facts within the actual situation that's happening. Okay. We know that the last reported death toll was 24, right? Before that, I believe it was 16, and before 16, it was 4. But understand that once they get things more contained, the more that they can go in and discover, the more people they're going to find, right? Which brings me back to 2011. I remember in 2011 when I was in the fire in the valley that I was in, right? This was just my apartment, the smoke was coming through. I remember sitting there not knowing what the hell to do. whether I should go out or whether I should stay in. Is this going to be big to where everything catches? So a lot's going on in the mind on what to do at that time, right? But I say all that to say this. I bring this up not just to bring up the fact that I was in one. That's not the point. My point is this. There were so many rumors on what started the fire. There were rumors that aliens started the fire. Y'all remember that? That aliens started the fire. I believe the truth was a power box or something like that may have exploded and it caused a fire. So for those that didn't have fire insurance at the time, they were able to sue the power company, right? But I also remember that they said it was homeless people cooking. And that while the homeless people were cooking, they actually set a fire. Or that they actually set a fire because it was cold, which I don't believe was true. Southern California was nice. That they had started the fire, and that's what happened. I say that not to talk down on the homeless population that are located in those areas, in those hills and in those woods. I say that to acknowledge the fact that when I say that once they go in there and they go in those places that are on fire, that the death toll will increase, is because they're not just considering the homeless population that are living in those hills and in those regions, right? I remember hiking in Running Canyon. In Running Canyon, you got the main trails that everybody go on. And then you got your athletic studs or whatever you want to call them that want to run up the mountain and on the sides of it, right? Then you got these little duck-off spots. And every spot that you can notice as a little duck-off spot, there's other humans that have noticed it. And then once you see and kind of go on these little duck-off spots, you'll start seeing little forts. Then you'll start seeing items of clothing. You'll start seeing food wrappers and things like that. A lot of stuff that is indicative of someone actually surviving and living there. Okay? So when it comes to the homeless actually living in those hills and things like that, I know that for a fact to be true because I've witnessed the evidence. And so I'm not saying that I don't care about those that had homes. I do. I know that it must be really traumatic to lose everything. But there are also those who have lost everything that are possibly, have lost their lives. And so I just want to bring that to your attention when you look at the statistics and everything. Understand that this affects, a lot of humans that are what people would say are affluent and that they can afford to rebuild and things like that. Well, one, everybody doesn't have insurance. After that fire in 2011, well, one, there was already some people that didn't have fire insurance, period, believe it or not. As much as you would think that they paid for the house, you would think that they would be able to afford fire insurance, but that's not true. But they did, they were able to recoup some money from being able to sue the power company that allegedly was the cause of the fire in the beginning. But after that fire, many insurance companies have either not issued fire insurance or they charge a premium. It is recorded by, I forgot who it was. I think it was Joe Rogan. Don't quote me. Actually, yeah, quote me. I believe Joe Rogan mentioned that he had a friend that their insurance, their fire insurance, for their home was $125,000. Okay. So not only do we have people in California that are paying a premium for that fire insurance, there are some insurance companies that aren't giving fire insurance altogether. So that makes a lot of anxiety, and that makes a lot of drama when it comes to those who are affected by this thing, okay? Also, speaking of Joe Rogan, have you seen that clip where he mentions, I think he said he was doing Fear Factor, and that in talking to some of the firefighters, they had mentioned that, hey man, the way California is set up, all we have to do is get the right fire with the right or wrong wind, and it's going to be something that we won't be able to handle. And he said that even if everybody's on board and everybody's watching out for it, it's just a matter of time, and that there's nothing you'll be able to do about it. So basically,
I talked to a fireman once, and he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind, and fire's going to start in the right place, and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean, and there's not a thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, if we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA, and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the wind's just blowing embers through the air, and those embers are landing on roofs, and those houses are going up, and they're landing on bushes, and those bushes are going up, and everything's dry. And once it happens in a way where it's so spread out that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. You just have to evacuate, right? Nothing they can do. They just got to get out of there.
So basically, a fire like this was already predicted. And you can look at Joe Rogan's clip. I might put it on here, but you can go ahead and see that this is evidence of what they were already talking about, okay? It's been plenty of fires in that area. I was in one, and I've shown you the evidence, right? So I say all that to say, when it comes to people just saying, oh, this is just the rich and all this type of stuff. Well, okay, one, rich people are people. If I get rich off this YouTube for my 24 subscribers, and all 24 spread the word about this great channel of mine and this great stuff that I'm doing here, and I make it rich, and then there's a fire, I don't want y'all to say about me, oh, it's just the rich. He has insurance. He can afford it. I want you to know that I still lost everything. There are things that I have attachments to, and it's still a dramatic time. Okay? So don't lower yourself or reduce yourself by thinking like that. Okay? That's one. The other thing is, there's other people up there that don't have a residence. Yeah, believe it or not, there are people up there that don't have a residence. They don't have a mailbox, but they live up there in those hills, in those little duck off spots, right? You can call them homeless people, you can call them whatever you want to call them, but they are humans and they are up there. And believe it or not, that's who my biggest concern is for, because they didn't have shelter. All they had was their makeshift whatever tent or whatever they had. And if they got caught, it would be pretty difficult for them to kind of make it out of there on time, because they're actually on the land that's actually burning. So I'm not saying I'm worried about them more, but I do have a concern, being that they don't have any protection. So that's one. The other thing is we have animals. One of the main things people complained about up there was coyotes, cougars, and things like that. The hawks in the sky, I'm pretty sure they were able to make it pretty safe. You have deer. You have all sorts of rabbits. All the animals that are up there, you also have them. The SPCA has treated, I think, over 1,000 animals already for fire-related injuries. So we have a lot going on than what you may think. And so I want you to develop a sense of understanding for humanity and Earth as a whole. Remember this video? Got a question, man. This is to all the men. Ladies, it's a little bit different for y'all, but you may still be able to find some value in this information. I just got a question. When the last time y'all just sit down and kicked it with your mama? I mean, really sit down and kicked it with her, man. Ask her how she's doing, first of all, but ask her about her life. how it was, growing up with her, and how she see the world now, and things like that, man. And I say that because normally, when you are a black man in a family, you pretty much are the man in the family. There was more to what I was saying than just have a conversation with your mother, meaning the woman that gave birth to you. There's evidence right there of how I think and how I'm looking at this whole deal. Okay. Ralph Smart, good mentor of mine, but also pointed out a great point about how Los Angeles used to be, I don't want to say swamps, but it had a lot of water. And they drained out all that water and built, communities on top of it to where it doesn't have enough water in order to put these fires out now. They have these man-made reservoirs that weren't filled, and people blame the mayor, the governor, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, LA was a wetland, believe it or not. But they built communities over it. And ironically, things are catching on fire without any water to put it out. It makes you think, okay. For those that think that this is God's wrath, stuff like that, I personally don't think so, because my belief in the Most High isn't reduced to a small fire. It's not devastating enough. It's just a teaspoon of his wrath. So if you want to go that route, I would have you question why it is that you think like that, and then decide whether you want to do something about it. If you want to do something about it, you can contact me and I can give you some counseling. Okay. If anything, I think it may be a good thing. People are coming together. Well, I think there could be some good that come out of it. Not that everything catching on fire is a good thing. But I think that the good thing that can come out of it would be for people to come together and be able to have an understanding of each other, being humans and helping out one another. But interesting enough, I want you to be able to look at this, and I want to be able to help you analyze what it is that I see. Okay, let's go ahead and play this clip.
James Woods joins me now. James, you posted a video that I watched last night. I think it's right after you posted it, coming right up to your deck. We're watching it now. I'm so sorry for everything you and all of your friends and all the residents of California are going through tonight. Do you know what's happened to your home since?
It's astonishing that what happened during this experience was that we found out that none of us is a celebrity, none of us is a poor person or a rich person, a Democrat or a Republican. We were just neighbors, just really helping each other. That one video was my neighbor who, after we had evacuated, before he evacuated, ran down to my house to try to stop that fire coming over my deck. As devastating as it was an extraordinary experience of realizing how essential good neighbors, good friends, good relatives. I've had people call me. I did a movie with Walter Goggins, a wonderful actor, years ago. I talked to him once or twice. I just got a call, a long text from him. Here's my address. The keys are in the car. I'm out of town. Use our house. Here's all the codes. I mean, people offering us their homes and so on. And that's my beautiful home there. Was my beautiful home. A little paradise in the hills.
Your comments about neighbors being critically important. And so oftentimes now in our busy lives, we don't even know our neighbors, or people cocoon themselves and don't. But I think your point at such a time of great tragedy is one that we should all take in tonight. Get to know the people around you. Get to know them.
Well, there are people who will probably say, "Oh, you sound like you're, doing a Hallmark movie, talking about the love of your neighbors." Well, next door to us, the house below us, and I think you have a video right where that fire is. The house next to us, right to the right of that tree. In fact, that tree's on his property, believe it or not. Is a 94-year-old gentleman who has advanced dementia. He has a caregiver. He was in the hospital, so thank God he wasn't there during the fire. We thought. We get down the hill after we evacuate. Robert was still up the hill. We get down the hill, and I said to Sarah, we've got to call Francis, his son, who lives in, I think he's a professor at Harvard or something. Just make sure his dad isn't in the house. I think he's in the hospital, I'm pretty sure. We called, and he said, well, what's going on? I said, well, there's a fire in the Palisades. He said, oh, no, I've been in a meeting. I did this right at the beginning, because we were at the epicenter of the beginning of the fire. And I said, your dad's in the hospital, right? He goes, no, he's in the house with a new caregiver. I don't know who they are. Well, it turns out what happened was I called 911. I finally got through to somebody. The fire department. That's the house right there. That's his house. And we could look down into his window. And I got someone in the fire department. I said, look, this 94-year-old guy with dementia doesn't even know that you've got to get to that house. We'll get there. So Robert went down. It turned out, he said, no, there's nobody there. And he said, the front door's open. It turned out later that the fire department had said to the caregiver, who was new and not from this country and probably a little afraid of authority, and I said that kindly, they said, you must evacuate. We will come back for him. Don't worry. And they either forgot or they hadn't gotten there yet.
Oh my goodness.
So Robert went in the house. He said, there's nobody here. I said, they keep him in a little room that used to be the so-called maid's room. It's around the kitchen. I've been in the house because he used to fall out of his chair and we'd go over.
So did they get him out, James?
They got him out and the house burned down an hour later.
Oh my.
there
are probably so many stories like that. I mean, we're going to hear thousands of stories of people who are elderly, alone, might live alone. But you guys pay, I think, the highest taxes in the United States. If not, you and New York are kind of tied, or Illinois, but among the highest. No water in the hydrants. 17.6 million cut from the fire department. Karen Bass, a recent headline, I think you might have tweeted that out from the New York Post.
Yeah. And our new fire, and they're busy cutting, but it's the same we had with all the crime we have in our neighborhood, in Los Angeles. When we had that idiot Gascon, they just didn't care. Everybody was running loose. They were smashing places. You couldn't walk down the street.
A return to competent leadership. This may be a wake-up call. We're not trying to make this political, but when you can't get water and your homes are burning and you have people trapped in their homes who don't have the ability to walk out, that's a problem. That's a real problem that has to be solved. So James, I'm glad I think you were the first one to actually put that out there last night.
Laura, with all due respect, if it is true that things were handled this way, if it is true that Gavin Newsom is the absolute blithering idiot that I believe he is in the way he has handled fire management in this state again and again and again and again, this isn't a wake-up call. This is the kind of thing they have tribunals for, where they try people and say, you had an oath of office to perform certain duties. When you're the fire chief, this isn't a social justice exercise that you're in charge of. This is you getting water to areas that need water because there are fires in 100-mile-an-hour winds burning houses to the ground.
Not all was kumbaya out there today. Specifically, one individual who goes by @PiperK on Twitter, on X, I guess a former faculty member at Mizzou, Karen Piper, she tweeted, and she since deleted the tweet, James Wood's house is burning down. It's karma calling. Retired prof.
Yeah.
University.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's, when I read that, I look for a curb so that I can find some place to scrape her off my shoe. I'm more concerned about my neighbors and their homes that they lost. I don't really care what she has to say. Yeah. She means nothing to me. She is to me a fleck of spit on the arc of infinity.
Now, as you can see right there, I wanted to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey, he has a good point. People are coming together. He has this amazing story. Unfortunately, the story that he's saying, there are going to be hundreds of them. And I'm not saying that this situation isn't unique, but when it comes to the amount of devastation, these fires, these stories will be normal in regards to his neighbor, the 91-year-old man, etc. But interesting enough, just when you decide to give him the benefit of the doubt, he actually shows you who he really is. Now, after all this devastation, after everything that's been going on, all the fires, all the death, all the people barely making it, all this great story about coming together, he's still showing you that after all of this, he is still a man that's willing to say a human isn't worth the bottom of whatever on his shoe. He still hasn't learned. And if you know him, let him know my email, and he can get a consultation, and I can be able to, guide him in the right place and kind of coach him and let him know, about his thinking and help him, try to find the roots of where it comes from and help him overcome it. I'm not saying I'm completely against the man, but I do want to point out how people will tell you who they are. So don't be surprised. Here he is having near-death experiences, or a neighbor barely escaping with life, and everything's devastating and all this chaos around him, and he's coming together, and the neighbors, and they're fighting the fire with the hose and all this great stuff. But at the end of the day, he is somebody that will talk about a human and consider a human to be less than something that's on the bottom of his shoe. That's who he is, and that's the reality. So no, I don't believe that the fire is God. Because for some people, it's just, I can't limit the power of the Most High God, but what I can say is that some people need a different level of help, a different level of care. Okay, and I'll just leave that alone, but I'm just doing that to help y'all develop a keen eye and just to point something out, all right? See what else I got here. What else I got going on? I actually wrote some stuff down today. Y'all feel good about this. But I also would like to add that many of the communities aren't just the top 5% of communities. The community of Altadena is a historically Black community. And it's destroyed. It is no more. So get out of the, it's just the rich and they can just, get another one, or they can just, they'll be compensated. It doesn't matter. These are communities. Your body has a memory of everything that you've done. I really could give you some high level information, some spiritual information when it comes to, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Really wrong channel. Y'all ain't ready for that. Y'all don't even like the video enough for me to even give y'all some otherworldly advice. But I'll give you a taste. People that see ghosts, right? Many people, many individuals that profess to have seen a ghost. The ghost normally appears in some place that the person actually frequented a lot, meaning their grandmother in the kitchen, meaning their father outside in the garage, etc., etc. So not to get too deep and be all super physical and stuff like that, but I do want you to know on the human level, on the conscious level of what we are aware of, is that there are memories tied to everywhere you've been. And when you lose all of that, it does cause a distress. It is a trauma, more than what the common person would know. So I just wanted to add that just to give you something to promote thinking and help you grow, all right? I'm Coach Michael Chandler. If you like this information, by all means, please like and share the video. I understand that everything that I say you may not agree with, and that's fine. I may change my mind on some things, right? And if you don't like me, that's okay too. Find somebody else like me that you don't like and get information to them. All right, thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. One love.
Hey, look at the fucking fire. Look at the valley, baby. This is off the 405 on the valley. The whole fucking valley's on fire. Look at this shit. I'm on Sepulveda though. I ain't on the 405.